Man, what's up with it? World your minds and them files shot and reporting on the Bamboozle Again News Network, where always after work I get very sleepy, so it's almost time for my nap. But I wanted to hop on here with an experience and how it relates to I believe I'm on the right track, but it's not expressly written in the word that I can disseminate from. Of course, I'm not trying to add or take anything away, right? So let me just hop straight into it. So the work day is winding down, just doing a little nicky-nack stuff, sweeping up, straightening up, right? So I was thinking about, I'm always thinking. So I'm thinking about how I believe toughness is relative, right? In reference to, let's say the brother does a decade behind the wall. That's tough. I haven't done any prison time or anything like that. I had about a 7-year window where I went back and forth to, county jail off and on about a 7-year period, right? But it was actually because I had a hard time functioning in society, and it was actually easier where I was, incarcerated at. Kind of put weight on, look better, self-care, get your mind right, get off drugs, to then just, be like a pig and return to, the mud, as they say, right? But let's say you're in prison for 10 years, whatever nefarious characters you got to deal with, prison politics, XYZ, right? That's tough, right? But what's actually tougher, that or, the brothers I've been privy to who, let's say, he put all his kids through college, you know what I'm saying, and bankrolled it. Because that requires a certain amount of discipline and consistency, negating your own problem. I'm pretty sure brothers like that get tired and still do it, and it's not for selfish purposes, even though you can be proud of those accomplishments, you know what I mean? But it doesn't necessarily directly benefit you. You're doing that for somebody else. What's tougher? You know what I mean? I think very conceptually, you know what I mean, in this age of, I don't know, the emasculation agenda or just the inversion of Babylonian culture. Like, what's really tough, you know what I'm saying? Like Biggie said, what's beef, you know what I mean? But as I'm having these thoughts, right, I'm grabbing for my phone, ready to put in my pocket, and then I freeze for a second because at that point I experienced deja vu. Crazy, right? I remember my body was in the same, positioning that it was. I remembered that I'm having these thoughts that I can't remember thinking I've had previously along the lines I was thinking it. And I remember that I was in this environment, even though I've only been at this job almost 3 months. And it was the exact same scene. I was having the exact same thoughts with the exact same body positioning. Shake it off. The last time I had deja vu, I took my daughter to her tutor, which is approximately 50 minutes away from where I live at in rural Maryland, right? Had never been to this location, and it was the same thing. I remember, my exact body position. I remember, where stuff was placed at on the wall or the environment, right? Even though I had never previously been there. And I'm wondering what that means. And I used to have not a flurry, because deja vu is very periodic, I'm assuming. But I would have flashes of deja vu more so when I was in treatment. Somebody was standing in a certain spot, we were having a certain conversation, and I remember this, like, yo, I've been here before, or I remember experiencing this previously to the first time I'm consciously experiencing. What is that? What do it mean? I don't know. But what I like to believe is that, with the uncertainty of the world, economics, the tares and the wheat, seemingly you can't tell the difference unless you're, in these people's personal presence or be able to see certain traits, behaviors, X, Y, Z. Even though I'm on the right path, and I say that because I must be on the right path if I've consciously walked into something that I remember subconsciously. You know what I'm saying? That's how I took it. That's how I'm taking it. How else does that happen? Which I guess maybe that gets you into more metaphysical kind of things that's hard for science to quantify because you can't measure it, but you experience it. The almost, you had your 5 senses or whatever, and then that 6th sense, the same 6th sense that tells you, even though you don't see any signs of anything, it's time to leave. Or segue me to this. Let's say I don't have all the allotted financial resources. However, me personally, I'm looking, how they say in the like the elitist world, never let a good crisis go to waste. And I've always wanted to travel. And I'm one of the few Negroes that I personally know of who has dealt with other ethnicities and not had the experiences they've had. Like that, none that I can remember. I've never remember having a negative interaction with, let's say, an African person or the Asian that run the chicken wing spot or the Arab liquor store owner. I never remember them getting disrespectful or us getting into it, or I'm pretty sure it had to happen, especially when I was drinking, but I never remember having those experiences. And even though I'm young, like when I was younger and grew up in a very isolated area where, numerous family members grew up on the same plot of land, different houses, and then there was nobody else around other than maybe a white family on the other side of the road further back. I always thought global. I always, and then when I sing, like Saturday morning, like I come in, like let's say the early 90s, we still were kind of behind the times. So we still had a rotary phone. There were only 4 channels on TV, and Saturdays it was either the kung fu movie where the voice don't match, what they're saying, like, yes, Master Ling, I mean, all that type of stuff, right? Or it was the old westerns. And then I became privy to, I forgot what channel it was, but every now and again I could catch those black exploitation movies with Huggy Bear and, the brother with the super big hat and it's cocked at a 45-degree angle. And it did something to me because previously I had never witnessed no Negroes such as this. I didn't know these type of Negroes actually existed because I'm very consensual. I'm thinking somebody just thought of this in their head and manifested on TV, but I didn't know it was actual depiction of what people was actually doing in a previous time. So when I seen them type of brothers who were super cool and, always had something slick to say, and I still kind of gravitate to them brothers. Somehow they just always know what to do, or you never see them sweat. The proverbial international player. In light of whatever going on with, the Chinese manufacturers disclosing, and I already knew this, when you buy a $20,000 bag with some European name on it, it probably costs about $15 to make. You're basically just paying for the rights to wear a name, a la slavery, you know what I'm saying? Whatever, status symbol, whatever, right? And these Chinese manufacturers have posted direct links where you can get these same products. Now, I guess you can say they knock off until the European man put the name on. But what the difference is, because I know for the vast majority of consumers, they're stupid. It is what it is. They feel like we're stupid. If I can manufacture, or the theory of social Darwinism, if I can sell you something at a 10 times the actual price, and you buy it, is it my fault because you're that stupid? You know what I'm saying? Now, I don't get all into that. But if I can, and this is multiple avenues for this. One, being somewhat entrepreneurial, which I would rather be more of a producer of the raw product to then sell to the warehouse who then sell to you. Yet I digress. But if I could, start along that track of getting, hooked up directly with these manufacturers, and this is what I like to call the Frank Lucas tactic. Cutting out the middleman so I don't have to necessarily buy my blue magic or my heroin at the time from the Italian mafia. I'm going to circumvent all that and go straight to where it's produced at and deal with them personally. And then come back, sell it here cheaper than the competition and a better quality. That's natural economics in the free world market system. I got to find a way in. And not just that, but then I also want to experience different cultures. And this how crazy I am, right? So I used to have these issues in school when I started being around people, and I'm just different and, cliquish stuff and all that. So, of course, moms don't want you acting up in school. So I'm kind of teetering between not having my mama upset at my behavior and then having to deal with my peer group when my mama ain't around. And then, dormant stuff is triggering, like, who is he talking to, yeah? You know what I'm saying? Whatever, right? So I was having these issues, or my family was very much concerned. Because I'm a wholesome young man, still am is, you know what I mean? So I say, let me be solution oriented. But a lot of times my solutions are very extreme, right? So they sat me down, family meeting, my behavior, this, that, and the third. I can't really explain to them what I'm experiencing, and they ain't trying to feel it, and they ain't feeling it because I ain't acting right. That's all they concerned with. I get it. So I said, I saw the problem. Because it seemed like I'm not real good with being around people, especially growing up in isolation. Like when I'm home, I got home training. I don't exhibit none of this. It's just when I'm in these environments. And I ain't never been in it, and I don't feel like dealing with it. Or I deal with it in a way that I feel resolves the issue or the problem. So how about this? Since it seemed like, now I'm broke, I'm a little kid. Well, younger, teenage years, right? But it seemed like y'all do all right, on both sides of my family, mother and father, right? So how about y'all get together and get me into a Mongolian monastery where I can study under Master Ling them, you know what I'm saying, in isolated seclusion like I'm is now, and then y'all ain't got to worry about it, and then I can get some real knowledge, because school ain't doing nothing for my brain. They told me I was crazy. I said, I saw the problem. It's conducive to me. I want to go. I just watched the Kung Fu movie Saturday. That sounds like something I want to be part of. Why I can't go? Why I gotta be funneled in with everybody else? I don't want to be like, I never wanted to be like everybody else. Maybe me growing up the way I grew up, and then not only just like the seclusion of the geographical location, but up until that point when I'm coming of age, like the Memphis Bleak album, I was the only male in my age range, let's say adolescence, teenage years, on either side of my family. They were either already grown and doing grown folk stuff on, males, or they were babies. You know what I'm saying? So it kind of honed this thing too. One, I got to be able to hold my own like Allen Iverson tattoo. And I put nobody taught me this, but I put a great burden on myself to carry the family name forward in a way that no one else had ever done. So yes, college and things of that nature, it seemed great, but I don't think that's my lane. It don't get my juices flowing. Being great, being legendary, having an impact, positively, standing up for what's right. Because my aunt used to make me read books about the struggle, Harriet Tubman, Frederick Douglass, Sojourner Truth, E.B. Du Bois. I was well versed in that, right? So home was part of that, is fighting the system or doing so much good, the system tried to stop you, even to the point of unaliving. I grew up during my formative years with this understanding before I even set foot into society or the world per se. I carried that even into my time in addiction or the streets, or I'm dead wrong for what I did in the streets. Go to court and then make an intellectual argument about why I shouldn't be on trial, but the system that created an environment for me to steal them people's stuff. Say it so intellectually that I actually don't get the consequence they thought, because they got to respect the way I worded it, but they also think I'm crazy for having the balls to represent myself in front of these people who have gone to school for eons to make an intellectual argument to the very system they uphold. I'm probably finna do it Friday, depending on how I feel and how I go, but I don't even worry about that, because I'm not being brought forth. I'm the plaintiff bringing, someone else to court, right? But it's also in the word where I say, take no, I'm paraphrasing, take no desire for what you'll say. For at the point in time when you're in front of these rulers and judges and whatnot, I will give you the words to say. So I ain't even rehearsing in my mind different talking points depending on how I feel the temperature of the courtroom or the proceeding is going to go. I just freestyle like I did them 7-year window off and on where I used to represent myself in court. Of course, it wasn't nothing super spectacular, you know what I'm saying? I used wisdom, or at least got some sense when I need to. And I had the ability, because my skills more so reading and writing and comprehension. When I get behind the wall or whatever, and you meeting brother talking about, I'll write other people modification and get them back in front of the judge. You know what I'm saying? So, I'm just sharing with y'all. But to end all this, yeah, budget cuts, tariffs, inflation, yeah. But what's the end? What's the niche? Because if you're so, say, chosen, you should be able to find it, or even through the wilderness, the path for you should be carved out. And on that note, I'm ready to take my nap. I got love for y'all. Always cover your six. Ooh, ah!